Last time on Tom and Eric.
My name is not important. Just call me Big Boars.
I'd rather not.
It's time that you become an internet reviewer, Eric.
So with that said, let's play some Metal Gear. Would I recommend Metal Gear on the MSX? Kinda. Yes.
You can't end the review here. You need to review the sequel too.
So, where were we? Is Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake a good game? Hell yes.
Bang.
Well.
And now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Hey, it's me. I'm fucking homeless. Because, you know, last episode. I'm living on the street, I'm eating fucking trash for dinner every night. It's a blast. I'm not reviewing the fucking Metal Gear Solid game. I don't have a fucking PlayStation 1 to play. I don't have a house to fucking play this on. What the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm not reviewing this fucking game! No! I'm not reviewing this fucking game! No, stop it! I'm not reviewing the game! No!
Not again. Ugh. God damn it.
Dear content creator, it has come to our attention that you have failed to uphold a consistent upload schedule over the last couple of years. To restore your standing with the YouTube algorithm, we have arranged a temporary location for you to continue your advertiser-friendly content. Do not worry about any monetary compensation. We have arranged all your organs to be harvested posthumously. Love, Susan. P.S. Enjoy your complimentary game.
So let's talk about Metal Gear Solid. In the beginning, Kojima created Metal Gear, and all was good. Then he created Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, and all was arguably better. Then there was the NES games. We don't talk about those. Then, in the year 1994, production began on Metal Gear 3 for the 3DO. But nobody actually bought a 3DO. And with support for the console being dropped faster than a tungsten soap bar in a Turkish prison, production was moved to the upcoming Sony PlayStation. So why was the name changed to Metal Gear Solid? Well, there's a lot of theories floating around. The most obvious one being that it's taken from the main character, Solid Snake. And it would make sense, seeing how this is the game that would finally go into detail about Snake as a character, where we get to learn more about him and his past. Other reasons could be how this is the first 3D game in the series, and a solid is used to describe a three-dimensional object. And some even claim it's a small jab at Square Enix, formerly just Square, because squares are two-dimensional, and are in fact not solid. I guess? I think the rebranding was a good thing. I think for a lot of people, including myself, this would be the first game in the franchise they would ever play. And having a title like Metal Gear 3 would probably turn a lot of people away. And that's about it for the introduction. So without further ado, let's take a look at Metal Gear Solid. So a lot happened in the last game. You found out Big Boss was behind everything. Again. You found out Grey Fox was working with Big Boss this time. You fought Metal Gear. Again. Then you beat the shit out of Grey Fox with your bare hands in the middle of a minefield, and use a makeshift flamethrower to burn Big Boss into a large pile of ash. Snake escapes, saves the day, and gets the girl. Happy endings for everyone, right?
Not a chance.
Turns out, beating your best friend to death with your bare hands and setting the closest thing you have to a role model on fire takes its mental toll. So shortly after the last game, Snake retires from Foxhound and moves to a small cabin in Alaska with a bunch of dogs. But years later, Snake is once again called out from retirement by Colonel Campbell for one last mission. Shadow Moses, a disposal facility for nuclear waste off the coast of Alaska, has been hijacked by terrorists. To be specific, the 6 people responsible for the takeover are all high-ranked members of your old unit, Foxhound.
There are 6 members of Foxhound involved in this terrorist activity. Psycho Mattis, with his powerful psychic abilities. Sniper Wolf, the beautiful and deadly sharpshooter. Decoy Octopus, master of disguise. Vulcan Raven, giant and shaman. And Revolver Ocelot, specialist in interrogation and a formidable gunfighter. And finally, in charge of them, Liquid Snake.
They're threatening to launch a new experimental nuclear weapon in 24 hours, unless their demand is met. The remains of Big Boss.
Now that's a setup I can get behind. Right, what remains? His body got fucking disintegrated.
So Snake is snatched from his shack and shoved in a submarine on the way to Shadow Moses. His objectives are simple. Rescue the hostages, neutralize all the Foxhound members, and find a way to destroy this experimental new weapon.
Oh gee, I sure wonder what weapon that could be.
An invisible nuclear warhead.
Boring!
Metal Gear Rex.
I fucking knew it!
And god, do I love the design of this thing. Like the name implies, it's vaguely modeled after a T-Rex, but it also has a giant-ass railgun on the side that makes it look like it has a sword and shield. And it also has knee missiles, and a metal peepee that shoots lasers. It even roars. There's no possible reason why it should need to roar, but it does. And I love it. I'd love to get it as a decoration for my room if it wasn't so... oh goddamn. And yeah, I guess I'm spoiling the game by insinuating you'll be fighting it. But let me go the extra mile by saying you'll be fighting some sort of Metal Gear in every single title in the series. NES games not included. It would be like spoiling Pokemon by telling you can actually catch Pokemon. Some things should just be a given.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, this setup is pretty great. It continues the story set up by the first 2 games without retconning too much. And although the amount of times exposition is just blatantly dumped on you can become overwhelming, the story does pick up in the later half of the game, when everything becomes a game of who can you actually trust on this mission. Some of you might even notice the uncanny similarity to another movie, Escape from New York. You have an ex-military named Snake having to sneak into enemy territory to save the president. In Metal Gear Solid, it's the president of the company that runs Shadow Moses, while in Escape from New York, it's the president. Throw in some subplots about some magnetic tape, shots filled with nanotech, and a vague reference to the World Trade Center, and you have yourself a pretty good movie reference baked into the narrative. Maybe even too good. Canal Plus, who owns the rights to Escape from New York, even threatened Konami with a lawsuit over the 2 having so similar stories. At least until John Carpenter himself came out and defended the game. Then they went on and sued Luc Besson over the 2012 movie Lockout instead. Kojima has always been vocal over the movie inspirations for the franchise. Die Hard is another that comes to mind, not only for the vent crawling, but also the terrorist takeover, the radio calls, and the one-liners.
That takes care of the cremation.
But that's not to say the story and characters are just carbon copies of other works. There are clear motivations for each of the characters, and even if Snake is technically blackmailed into doing the job, like in Escape from New York, he carries that no-shit attitude consistently throughout the story, often to the detriment of the other characters. Oh yeah, there's other characters too, I guess. The first character you come across is Meryl, Colonel Campbell's niece, who just so happened to be stationed on Shadow Moses right before the takeover. She helps you out with the game's first mini-boss battle, acts like a brat, and then leaves for a while, until you have to break the fourth wall to contact her again.
What frequency was she at?
It should be on the back of the CD case.
Neat. Wait, what if you want a digital copy of the game?
There's also Otacon, the lead scientist behind Rex. He's... well, how do I put this? A massive weeb.
Otacon?
It stands for Otaku Convention. I became a scientist because I wanted to make robots like the ones in the Japanese animes. Are you an otaku too?
No.
An otaku's a guy like me who likes Japanimation. It's like one of my Japanese animes.
Otacon's the kind of person who vapes ironically. He's also the most memeable character in his whole franchise.
Snake, it's Otacon. We just got a hot tip. Hatsune Miku is in the area. She actually created Minecraft. That means she's really smart. Snake?
And finally, there's the mysterious cyborg ninja. A side character that's neither enemy nor friend, and seems to be running around Shadow Moses with his own alternative agenda. But the characters that really steal the show has to be the Foxhound members. In Metal Gear, bosses would just kind of show up here, yell their names, and do whatever their job description was until one of you died. #BringBackDirtyDuck. In Metal Gear 2, half of the bosses show up out of nowhere like in the first game, while the other half is supporting characters from the first game that suddenly have a deep-seated hatred for you. What the fuck, Dr. Madnar? I thought we were cool! Get the hell off me! But in Metal Gear Solid, the bosses are the story. From the get-go, you know exactly who they are, what they do, and what their deal is. And your job is to hunt every last of them down and, humanely handle them? Yeah, sure. They all have unique personalities and motivations for joining the terrorist uprising. You'll encounter most of them a couple of times throughout the game. Some you'll even have to battle multiple times, but no two boss battle is ever the same. I especially love the banter between them and Snake before and after boss fights. It fleshes them out into characters you must confront instead of blank targets to shoot. It becomes not only a battle of guns and bullets, but a confrontation of ideals and values. And explosives. Lots of explosives.
Now there is one specific part of the game I want to touch upon. Mostly because it involves going back to the story of the last two games.
It's almost exactly at the halfway point of the game, so it's on the edge of the spoiler zone. So if you don't want a pretty good twist spoiled, skip to this timecode. Ready? So halfway through the game, you fuck up and get yourself captured, because getting captured is pretty much a staple in this franchise. You get tortured by Ocelot, because he can never jerk off again and is pretty annoyed with you over it, and you're left all fucked up in a jail cell, with all your equipment gone and only the codec to keep you company. And then this happens.
I don't have any family. No. Wait. There was a man who said he was my father.
Where is he?
Dead. By my own hand.
Big Boss. It happened in Zanzibar 6 years ago.
So, is it true? Was Big Boss really your father?
That's what he said. That's all I know.
And you were able to kill him, knowing that?
Yup.
How?
If I ever need proof to show what makes Metal Gear Solid so special to me, then it's this scene. You rarely get quiet, personal moments like this in an action game. This is character building at its finest. In one fell swoop, you suddenly understand why Snake acts like he does. Why he's so quick to distance himself from anyone else. Why he left everything behind and moved to the middle of nowhere.
Is that why you left Foxhound?
Let's just say that I needed to be alone for a while, and Alaska was the perfect place.
Not to mention how the whole thing is one giant retcon. Nowhere in the original two games is it ever mentioned that Snake and Big Boss are at all related. And it's a retcon that works rather well, because it is a reveal that retroactively changes the MSX games into a much more intense story. It adds something to the story instead of taking away. And when replaying the games, it's no longer the story of a lone soldier tearing down a military base, one boss at a time anymore. It's the story of a son having to end his father's life to save a world he'll ultimately grow to resent. And that's powerful.
It's kinda depressing, and I have no way of ending this segment on such a downer. Do we have any way to lighten the mood?
Hey, check it out, guys, it's Metal Gear Salad.
That'll do.
You should know the drill by now. You start out without any weapons or items, except cigarettes, in the loading bay of the facility. In the beginning, your only hope is to remain hidden as long as possible, since you have such a low health bar and no way of defending yourself, besides your own 2 fists, which are not too reliable. Any attempt at getting up and personal with enemies will usually result in triggering the alarm, and there is no time to react. If you get spotted, the alarm will immediately go off. All guards in the area will be notified of your location and continue to attack you until you manage to hide. If you stay hidden long enough, the guards will go into a search mode. And if you stay hidden even longer, their short-term memory goldfish brains will forget you even existed, and they return to their normal patrol. Next generation forces, everyone. This entire cargo room works as a nice little training area for you to get the hang of the gameplay. Before you can even get moving, you first have to learn to crawl under this pipe. Then you're trapped in this grid-like area with a handful of guards patrolling, and water puddles that will alert anyone close by if you walk over them. You'll also learn to press up against walls, and knock to lure enemies around. If you can survive this opening challenge until the elevator arrives, then you're ready to play with the big boys, complete with a badass opening title to show that this is where the real game begins. Shadow Moses as a map is very linear, like the map is an actual straight line. Most of the action takes place inside the main 4 areas of the facility. First is the hangar, where you'll learn the basics of infiltration. Crawling through vents, avoiding cameras, scout for supplies, and defend yourself if you have to. Then after a tank battle, there's the office, where you learn to deal with larger and more organized threats. The top floor even prevents you from using any weapons, because of the dismantled warhead stored there, forcing you to master the stealth mechanics before continuing. And even gassing you if you get spotted. Oh, thanks for that. This is also where you need to start using your weapons and items to solve environmental puzzles, but more on that later. After crawling through some caves, you get to the communications towers, a place where your skills as a warrior is put to the test, where you'll have to face up against elevator ambushes, unlimited waves of enemy soldiers, and a fucking attack helicopter. And finally, there's the underground base, the place where Rex is being held. This is where all your skills and abilities are being pushed to the max. For much like Dante traveling to the deepest part of hell, the only way to get out alive is to get to the very end in one piece. Also, holy shit, these elevators take forever. Like, god damn. As you sneak through the base, you'll again collect weapons as you continue deeper in. Pistols, machine guns, sniper rifles, remote-controlled rockets, heat-seeking missiles, and more explosives than a Floridian Taco Bell. More noticeable than in the last few games, this time around weapons act both as, well, weapons, but also as tools used for solving environmental puzzles. Now there was some of that in the previous games too, but here a lot of the level design is based around it. Sometimes it's very straightforward, like when you need a remote-controlled missile to disable an electric floor. Other times it's more subtle, like halfway through the game, when you're at the end of this long hallway, with a sniper aiming at you, and need a sniper rifle of your own to defeat her. Now yes, you're using your weapons offensively here to take down an enemy, but you're also using it as a tool to remove a metaphorical barrier to the next area. Though getting the sniper rifle is still the most boring part of the game, as you have to backtrack over half the map to get it. But it shows off how Metal Gear Solid handles weapons, and why it stands out from other gunning games. Your weapons and items are never attached to you permanently. They are not an extension of the character itself, but rather a tool you can equip and unequip as your needs arise. So it's more akin to something like Zelda with its item system. Or Metroid. Anytime you defeat a boss, your ammunition and health will increase slightly. So while you're only able to take a few shots in the very beginning, forcing you to stay more hidden and learn the stealth mechanics, by the end you'll be powerful enough to tank most hits while you run around, guns blazing. If you want to. The game never really punishes you for your playstyle. Whether you want to stay in the shadows throughout the whole game, or run through the base while shooting everything in sight, is entirely up to you. The game just makes sure to let you know stealth is always an option. Well, besides the times you're stuck in an elevator ambush. Elevator ambush. You get ambushed in an elevator. There's a cyborg ninja waiting to fight you. There's a female soldier disguised as the enemy. You team up in the women's bathroom. There's an anonymous character warning you about traps. There's a staircase ambush with an infinite number of enemy soldiers. There's a key that changes shape in different temperatures. There's a battle with a HanDerIsak. Again, this is all sounding very familiar. Is Metal Gear Solid just a remake of Metal Gear 2? While also being a sequel to Metal Gear 2? Maybe it's commentary on the cyclical nature of war, how events will always come back to repeat themselves. Perhaps Snake's name is not just taken from the quiet, slithering reptile that stalks the grass in silence, but also from the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail, creating an eternal, never-ending cycle of life, death, and rebirth, where the same events are fated to happen, over and over and over again. Or maybe they just ran out of ideas. I don't know. You make the call. Also, yeah, speaking of the MSX games, they finally solved one of the biggest issues of them all. The goddamn keycards. Brief reminder, Metal Gear 1 just had all your keycards laying around your inventory, creating a big mess of which card to open which door. Metal Gear 2 lets you trade in every third keycard you got for a universal keycard that replaces those three. Still not perfect, but it's an improvement. Now with the third game in the series, it finally hit them to replace your only keycard every time you get a new one. And it's even backwards compatible with all the locks beneath it. Hell, they even label the doors now, so I actually know what level I'd need my card to be before I can open it. Gameplay wise, this might be the biggest quality of life improvement from the last two games. Your beloved cardboard box is also back, allowing you to make anywhere your personal hidey hole. And in one of the series' first real examples of the incredibly obscure and far-fetched mechanics that would become a staple in Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, if you punch Meryl in this specific part of the map at this specific part of the game, then enter your cardboard box before she retaliates, she'll send one of the random wolf dogs in the area after you, which in turn will piss on you. Because being pissed on in this franchise is pretty much as big of a staple as being tortured or having your balls fondled by old men. But if you equip your piss-stained cardboard box while crawling through the caves, you'll actually stop any of the other wolf dogs from attacking you. This is such an obscure little detail that I'm not even sure if it should be considered an Easter egg. But it did set the precedent for mechanics that Sons of Liberty, and especially Snake Eater, would greatly expand on. If one box wasn't enough, you actually get 3 this time. Because like in Metal Gear 2, you can ship yourself around Shadow Moses using specific trucks, acting like fast travel between buildings, with each box sending you to a specific one. I never really used this feature on playing. The progression itself is rather linear, only making you travel through different floors of the same building. And the one time you actually need to backtrack a fair bit, it's not even worth going out of your way to do this. But I'm still glad the option is there should I ever need it. The linear nature of the map also leads to a few pacing issues, especially with bosses. A large part of the overall playtime is dedicated to boss battles, both major and minor. And with so many battles to fight over a relatively short amount of time on a relatively small map, it can get a bit crowded. Take the communications towers. As soon as you arrive, you set off an alarm, activating a mini-boss battle where you need to fight your way up 27 flights of stairs. On the top you need to rappel down the outside while being shot on by a HanDerIsak, get over to the other towers and climb those stairs as well. On the top you'll have a boss battle with the HanDerIsak itself. Then as soon as that is done, you take the elevator down to the bottom of the tower. But there you'll have a mini-boss battle, as you fight against an invisible enemy ambush. And by the time you get to the bottom and exit the door, there's another boss battle waiting for you. That's 3 battles back to back in under 10 minutes, with little to no quiet time in between. Luckily this is the only part of the game where the encounters are so frequent, but it's just something that always rubbed me the wrong way. The battles themselves are still pretty enjoyable. The sniper battles test your marksmanship and ability to take cover while trying to stay in at advantage. Vehicle battles test your ability to blow shit up without being flattened. But the most infamous battle is the one against Psycho Mantis. Despite looking like a cross between the pianist from Kaiser's Orchestra and that weird guy who lived down the street from me in Fort Myers, Mantis has probably one of the coolest gimmicks in any boss battle. To show off his psychic powers, he actually starts breaking the 4th wall and messes with your game, blacking out the screen from time to time, hijacking your first-person view, reading through your save file to throw shade at you, and physically moving your controller. Holy shit! And the only way to escape his mind reading is to walk your ass up to the console and plug your controller into the second player port. That is fucking brilliant. And no, it's not really a spoiler. They spell this out to you pretty quickly in the codec. Oh yeah, codec. I'm surprised I haven't talked about the codec yet. It's a pretty large part of the game. Like in the last two games, it's your way of communicating with your support team. And there is a lot of codec in this game. So much so that they had to split the game onto 2 discs. Its purpose is to act as a way to deliver plot, without having to focus on large cutscenes that take away control from the player. It's also a way for you to call up and get hints on how to defeat a boss, what to do next, or just general lore expansion and world building. The great part about the codec is how it gives the player an easy way to control the pacing of the game. Whether you want to explore every conversation the game has to offer, or rush through it as fast as possible is entirely up to you. A lot of the calls are optional to answer, and the ones that are mandatory can easily be skipped. By having multiple people specialized in different fields, it also gives you a better control of getting the information you're actually after. Colonel Campbell is once again in charge of the operation, and like the last game, is responsible for making sure you always know where to go and what to do. Dr. Naomi Hunter is your friendly neighborhood medical expert, and will give you medical tips, along with details on the different Foxhound members and other bosses. Mei Ling is the communications expert, and is responsible for saving your game. Nastasha Romanenko is your weapons expert, and will give you information about the weapons you acquire, the weapons enemies use against you, and nuclear weapons in general. Master Miller is also back, and acts as a personal survival instructor, giving you tips on how to think like a soldier, as well as the local Alaskan flora and fauna. Arakan provides info on Shadow Moses itself, which way to go, and where to get items, along with info on Rex itself. Meryl, I don't know. I never really talked to her outside of the mandatory cutscenes. She gives out general background info on plot, but her codec breaks at some part in the game anyway, so she doesn't fill any important niche of information. There's the VR stages too, I guess. Nothing really interesting to say about them. Just 10 stages of pure stealth that will teach you the basic mechanics. It's a fun little side thing, but not necessary to play through before starting the game. That Metal Gear 1 remix is pretty dope though. The controls remain pretty identical to Metal Gear 2. You use the D-pad to move around, though being a 3D game you have a lot of different angles to move around in. It still feels pretty stiff for a PS1 game, however, like the game is still trying to lock you into a kind of grid when you're moving around corridors. Though it makes it easier to do sharp turns around corners when you're trying to escape. Pressing up on a wall will make Snake stand up against it. This also changes the camera and makes it easier to look for guards in the distance. Pressing X allows you to crouch, and moving the D-pad while you're in the crouch stance makes Snake crawl around. It can feel a bit awkward at first to get in and out of a crawl, since nothing is more awkward than being spotted by an enemy and slowly having to stand up to shoot him. But it's something you'll get used to over time. Circle is your melee button, that you can use even when having weapons equipped. It's very convenient to have a close combat button always available, in case you need to attack an enemy close by, but only have a long-ranged weapon equipped. Mashing the button multiple times allows you to do a combo that knocks down the guards temporarily, so you can lock them into a cycle until they get knocked out completely.
Holy shit! I just knocked a guy over the railing by kicking him! That was awesome!
Circle is also used to knock on walls when pressed up against one to lure guards over, and also works as the context-sensitive button for interacting with the environment, climbing onto ladders, pressing buttons, and interacting with the menu. Yeah, this was back in the age where circle meant confirm and X meant back, something that will always confuse me no matter how many times I've played this game. Square is the weapon button. Holding it in will make Snake ready it and automatically aim at any nearby enemies, and releasing it fires a shot. Although different weapons act differently. Machine guns go into auto-fire when you hold in a button, sniper rifles go into first-person mode when you equip it, and grenades will have their pins pulled when pressing the button, but aren't thrown until you release it, allowing you to time your explosions better. If unarmed, pressing square will put an enemy into a chokehold. From there you can toss the enemy around like a cheap blow-up doll, or if tapped repeatedly, will make Snake choke him to death, or possibly break his neck. Point is, it's lethal. So no pacifist runs with this tactic. Triangle puts you into first person mode, allowing you to look around freely. Which is cool and all, but except using it to look for guards, which why would you, when you have a radar already, is kinda pointless. I really wish there was some sort of way to aim guns in first person mode, which I guess technically you can, with the sniper rifle and rocket launchers, but neither of them are really practical to use indoors. At first I thought it was a hardware limitation, but again, you can shoot in first person with some weapons, so I'm not quite sure why they couldn't let you also aim your pistols and machine guns. L2 and R2 opens the item and weapon screens respectively, just like the other games. But this time the screens are more like menus, that pauses time and lets you cycle through everything. And believe me when I say, I abuse this instant pause feature a lot when playing, especially when controlling those Nikita missiles. L1 and R1 allows you to quickly toggle the selected items and weapons on and off, which is a small but nice touch, and can also be used to sidestep whenever you are pressed up against a wall. Select is for entering and exiting the codec, and Start pauses the game. The overall controls are very close to Metal Gear 2, but has various tweaks to them, probably to work better in a 3-dimensional environment. Also, because I really don't have any other place to bring this up, at the part where you're being tortured, they have this really clever implementation. To avoid dying, you have to constantly keep pressing the X button to resist the torture. Now this is clever because this is actual torture on my carpal tunnel. Holy shit! The only way I could even get past this section as a kid was to develop a whole new muscle spasm in my arm. And if you want a good ending, you'll have to go through this multiple times. At least if you're like me and are too stupid to manage to break out of your cell.
Ah, fuck you too, Johnny. I'm gonna put my goddamn pen.
Nobody has any eyes! But I'm getting ahead of myself. Metal Gear Solid has in many ways defined what a PlayStation 1 game looks like, despite some lack of face. Oh god, I take it back! Change it, change it, change it! I've never really been a big fan of how the PlayStation handles polygons, compared to other 3D consoles at the time, like the N64. The way objects seems to shift and shimmer as you move around, and textures popping in and out. But because the camera here is almost always pointed downward, it hides a lot of the artifacts and makes everything look more stable. There's still the occasional graphical hiccup, and the character models often clip through themselves on the joint. But overall the world feels very... what's the word I'm looking for? Solid! Yeah, I'm gonna stop using that word. Shadow Moses remains very atmospheric throughout the game, much in favor of the colors. The base is cast in sterile green and blue colors that mixes feelings of military and science fiction, and the outside actually makes me feel cold. Hey, were you aware of video game? According to the lead character designer, Solid Snake's appearance was based on the body of Jean-Claude Van Damme and the face of Christopher Walken. Yeah, I have no comment.
Say something dirty.
Sucks.
Come on. Say erection. Can you say erection? Here I am, I'm naked. I'm naked. Get away! Ow! I'd stick pins in my eyeballs.
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish, but Metal Gear Solid has one of the best soundtracks of all time. Of all time.
Okay, maybe not the greatest, but damn it's a good soundtrack. The whole soundtrack in itself only contains about 20 tracks, but every single of those tracks are amazing and memorable in their own right. From the droning ambience of the opening, to the unsettling eeriness of the office complex, to the heart-pounding thrill of the boss music, to the tear-jerking melody of the credits. Every piece of music is bound to stick with you for life. The credit music itself is probably one of my favorite video game songs of all time, and even made it into my top 10 video game credit songs. And let's not forget one of the greatest video game themes of all time. composed by Tapi Iwase, best known for his work with the Suikoden franchise, although this song barely appears in the actual game. It was used a lot during previews and trailers, but the only way to actually hear it in-game is to beat the game 3 times, and it will replace the credit music. But we'll talk more about this music in the next video. And even with a great soundtrack, Metal Gear Solid remembers one of the most effective musical instruments. Silence. You're all alone in a cold, dead facility in the middle of a snowstorm, so it's important that the sound design reminds you of that every now and again. Though, speaking of the sound effects, what the hell is up with the choking sound effect? To break a guard's neck, you'll have to continue pressing the choke button. But doing so spams this sound effect over and over again. And it just sounds like you're doing it wrong. Am I doing it wrong? It sounds like I'm doing it wrong, but it still ends up dead, so I guess not. Yeah, it's a minor nitpick. But with this being your most common way to eliminate guards silently, expect to hear this in your nightmares. Now we can't talk about the sound in this game without mentioning the brilliant voice acting. In an era where voice acting was relegated to stuff like Resident Evil...
Stop it! Don't open that door! What? What is this? Whoa! This hall is dangerous!
Metal Gear Solid shines like a beacon in a sea of underpaid union workers. Of course, the star of the show is David Hayter as Solid Snake, a role so iconic and inseparable that I still have gripes with the Phantom Pain 5 years after its release. He brings this rough, gritty delivery to his performance, and it really fits the character well, since Snake is supposed to be this typical 80s action hero, trapped in the cynical late 90s.
I'm retired from Foxhound. You're not my commander anymore, and I don't have to take orders from you or anyone else.
How do you know so much?
I ride dog sleds. I'm a musher. I need that man. Keep your hands off him. Fire! I already know that Metal Gear is nothing but a nuclear-equipped walking deathmobile.
How are you feeling?
Not bad. Caught a nice nap on this revolving bed of yours. Too bad I was sleeping alone.
What?
With any other voice actor trying to do the same thing, it would just end up too cheesy to take the character seriously. But David Hayter doesn't hold back and gives it his all, making it one of the most compelling performances I've seen in a game from that era, besides Barry Burton.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
Did you know David Hayter is also a credited writer for the first 2 X-Men movies, Watchmen and The Scorpion King? The world is a strange place indeed. We also have other great voice actors involved that bring a great performance. There's Jennifer Hale who plays Naomi, though most of you might know her as Girl Shepherd from Mass Effect. But she was allegedly also the uncredited voice of Samus in the Metroid Prime trilogy. And let's not forget Catwoman the video game. Actually, let's forget that. And then, in a casting decision I will never be able to understand, nor explain how much I love it, the leader of the Foxhound terrorist group and the main antagonist of the whole game, Liquid Snake, is voiced by cartoon legend Cam Clark. And God, I love it. Dubious British accent aside, he's incredible in the role, but at the same time, it's hard to take it seriously when the voice of Leonardo is threatening to nuke Washington DC.
After I launch this weapon and get our $1 billion, we'll be able to bring chaos and honor back to this world gone soft. You enjoy all the killing. That's why. There's a killer inside you. You don't have to deny it. Is that your opinion as a Kurd?
In March 2004, Silicon Knights, the Canadian company best known for Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, and came out with a remake of Metal Gear Solid for the GameCube, using the much more advanced Metal Gear Solid 2 engine. This is Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. As far as remakes go, this stays pretty close to the original. Obviously the graphics have gotten a major overhaul, but Snake's moveset has also been taken directly from Metal Gear Solid 2. Finally, you're allowed to shoot guns in first-person mode, making a lot of the areas much easier to get through. And this time the game actually gives you a tranquilizer gun as well, making it possible to do a complete pacifist run. Okay, almost. Yeah, first-person mode makes some of these boss battles a bit more exploitable. Now the big selling point, or flaw depending who you're asking, are the cutscenes from this game. The acclaimed Japanese director of movies such as Godzilla Final Wars and was brought onto production to reimagine the game's cutscenes with a larger action film influence. For those of you who have seen Kitamura's other works, or most Japanese action films, know that they are not afraid to go a bit overboard. And overboard they went.
What? My hand! What? My hand!
Let me tell you, it's... Oh, sorry, I forgot. Damn! Let me tell you, it's... Huh? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Damn! Oh, that's right.
Did Snake just pull a gun out on a crippled old man? Originally, it was planned that only David Hayter would reprise his role for the remake. However, ultimate Chad that he is, David Hayter cut his salary in half so that most of the original cast could come back and voice their characters again. But original cast or not, the biggest issue most Metal Gear fans will agree on is the voice acting. A lot of the original script had to be rewritten, for reasons. And the voice acting sounds a bit off in some cases. It's hard to fully explain, but some of the lines just lack that heart that the original had. Just take a look, or listen, whatever.
It's Snake. I'm in front of the disposal facility.
Excellent, Snake. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
How's that sneaking suit working out?
I'm nice and dry, but it's a little hard to move.
Bear with it. It's designed to prevent hypothermia. This is Alaska, you know.
Take it easy, I'm grateful. If it weren't for your suit and your shot, I would have turned into a popsicle out there.
It's Snake. I'm in front of the disposal facility.
Excellent, Snake. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
How's that sneaking suit working out?
I'm nice and dry, but it's a little hard to move.
Bear with it. It's designed to prevent hypothermia. This is Alaska, you know.
Take it easy. I'm grateful. If it weren't for your suit and your shot, I would have turned into a popsicle out there. Is this the first time you ever pointed a gun at a person? Your hands are shaking. Is this the first time you ever pointed a gun at a person? Your hands are shaking. Can you shoot me, rookie?
Careful. I'm no rookie.
Liar. That nervous glance. That scared look in your eyes. They're rookie's eyes if I ever saw them. You've never shot a person, am I right?
You talk too much.
You haven't even taken the safety off, rookie.
I told you I'm no rookie!
Can you shoot me, rookie?
Careful. I'm no rookie.
Liar. Your eyes wander. There's no confidence in them. The eyes of a rookie. You've never shot a person, have you?
You talk too much.
You haven't even taken the safety off, rookie.
I told you I'm no rookie.
Snake.
You're that ninja.
I've been waiting for you, Snake.
Who are you?
Neither enemy nor friend. I am back from a world where such words are meaningless.
Snake. Hey, you're that ninja.
I've been waiting for you, Snake.
Who are you?
Neither enemy nor friend. I am back from a world where such words are meaningless.
What's with these guys? It's like one of my Japanese animes.
What's with these guys? It's like one of my Japanese animes.
The music and sound effects also feel a bit off. It's the same as the original, but it's played like there's no echo or reverb. Everything feels a bit too flat. Like you're listening to the raw studio recordings, without any filters or effects applied, to make the sounds blend into the game world organically.
Take this!
It's a very small nitpick, but it's something that I noticed when rewatching all the footage. Speaking of music, god damn do I love Psycho Mantis' new battle music. God, that's good. So overall, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes is less of a remake and more of a reimagining of the original PS1 classic. The game itself is incredibly divisive in the Metal Gear fan community. It seems like half the fanbase despise it for lacking that heart that made Metal Gear Solid special in the first place, placing more focus on spectacle and inserting action into places that don't need action and places that already have action enough. Action squared, if you will. The other half of the fanbase are just happy this game exists at all. The cutscenes, although goofy as fuck, are still a goldmine of memes and entertaining moments. The updated controls makes the Twin Snakes much more approachable than the stiff controls of the PS1 game, and first-person shooting is bound to make it easier for newcomers to get through. I'm certainly glad that the Twin Snakes exists, but whenever I'm in the mood to revisit Shadow Moses, I will usually gravitate towards the PlayStation release. It's the first version of Metal Gear Solid I ever played, so it will always have that nostalgia factor.
I see that you enjoy Nintendo games. You seem to like The Legend of Zelda, don't you? You've been playing Super Mario Sunshine, haven't you? Oh, so you've played Super Smash Bros. Melee before?
Yeah, what do you expect me to say? It's fucking Metal Gear Solid.
A day will not go by where I don't look this game in the eyes and tell it how much I love it. This game is, for many reasons, important, both as part of gaming culture and personally. Ever since the day I first popped this CD into my PlayStation without any idea of what to expect, it's been with me. And coming back to it now and finding it just as enjoyable as my first playthrough is always a good feeling. There are, of course, still some flaws to it. Some being leftovers of the MSX games, and some occurring from the jump to 3D and the hardware limitations that follow. And I feel like there's a weaker replay value in this game compared to its two sequels. As I said in my last video, if you've never played anything in the franchise, this is where you should start. You don't have to know the events of Metal Gear 1 and 2 to understand this game. Everything important that has happened gets explained in-game, and both games get a short summary in the manual and the main menu, so the game becomes easily approachable. If you want to give the game a shot, it sold over 6 million copies worldwide, so finding a copy shouldn't be difficult at all. Even if you don't have a PlayStation 1, remember that both the PS2 and PS3 are able to play PS1 games. A few years later, an updated version of the game was released in Japan, called Metal Gear Solid Integral. It features all the bug fixes and changes that the US and European releases got, but also features a separate disc called VR Missions, which is like an expansion pack for the virtual missions in the game, adding 300 more scenarios to play through. The extra disc was sold separately from the game outside of Japan. In the US you'll find it as Metal Gear Solid VR Missions, and in Europe as Metal Gear Solid Special Missions. You'll also get this bonus disc if you get the PC port of the game or the digital PS3 release. I got a code to download my copy of the PSN in my Metal Gear collection, though I'm unsure if you can still buy games on the PS3 anymore. As for Twin Snakes, it's available for the GameCube, although it's a bit hard to get your hands on for a good price. But if you can find a copy for cheap, then I recommend giving it a try. But no matter what version you decide to get, this has been, is, and will always be a solid game.
Pun intended, kind of.
Hold it right there. This review fucking sucked and was not worth the 5-year wait. I'm taking over the show.
Wait, who the fuck are you?
I am Liquid Rick, your evil twin brother, clone.
What?
Cousin twice removed.
What?
It doesn't matter what we are.
Twin? We look nothing alike. Also, why are you fat and half naked? Fat fuck? What a fatty. Fucking hell.
Anyway, I'm here to kill you.
Well, that's awfully forthcoming of you. We barely met.
YouTube has deemed your channel unsuitable for anyone alive ever. I am here to end your channel. And you.
What?
Besides, you can't really make a Metal Gear video anymore without doing some sort of ending sketch, right? I mean, I worked a lot on this fucking costume, so you better appreciate it.
Okay, fair enough. But do you have anything to add to the review before you shoot me? Any opinions on the game?
I think it fucking sucks.
What? Why?
Well, I don't know. I never played it. But you like it, so it has to be shit. Anyway, Splinter Cell is much better anyway.
Okay, that's it.
Holy fuck.
Take it back.
Dude, fucking chill. Jesus Christ. Fucking... Ow! Oh, fuck! Ah! Oh, what the fuck is wrong with you? You bastard! Dude, you're a fucking psycho. Get the fuck away from me. Oh, fuck.
What an asshole. Well, now I just gotta hide the body. Time to flee the country. Thank you all for watching. Please give this video a like if you liked it, and subscribe to stay tuned for next time when I take a look at Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty.
Yes, sir. The entire base was wiped out. But he's still alive. He's tougher than I first thought. I'll make sure not to underestimate him next time. Yes, sir. Our covers are still intact. He doesn't know who we really are. Indeed. He's still unaware that he is the real clone. Yes, sir. I'll get right on it. Goodbye. No, you hang up first.
No, you hang up first.
Big bores.
No, you hang the fuck up right